Upe. That was a greeting that we would use when door knocking, or actually we'd have a coin and we would go on, most of the houses had like a metal type fence, and you would just take a coin and tap on it and yell Upe or Buenas. Costa Rica 2019 was a fantastic trip. There were a couple expressions that we learned on that one. Another one that I had learned was you would talk to a brother. You'd say, "How are you?" And they would say, "In the fight." They would say it in Spanish, though, "in the fight." And so I was like, okay, which in Spanish, it's "in la lucha," okay? So I thought I got that down. So the next day I saw the brother who taught that to me, and I pointed to him and went, in the leche. And he just looked at me real funny. And which means in the milk. It was in the lucha. So I kind of caught on after that. I won't ever make that mistake again. Pura vida. That's kind of the unofficial slogan for the country of Costa Rica. Pure life. It's how you say goodbye. It's how you say hello. It's how you say things are going well. Everything's great. Everything's cool. Costa Rica, I'm telling you, is a great country. Actually, I found one article that ranked all 195 countries in order from happiest to least happy, and Costa Rica was number 1 in Latin America, number 12 in the entire world. Costa Rica, this was my 5th time to be able to visit this place and do missions. I went alone one time. It wasn't as fun. When I went with a small group, it was a little better. And this time, we had 21 people that got to go. 21 from the Keller Church that represented our group June 3rd through the 10th, 2019. What I want to do as far as our presentation goes is we're going to look at a couple points. I want to first look at the team. We'll look at the team, the plan, the work, the country, the connection, the success, the challenges, the experience, the reflections, and the message. Yes, in 30 minutes. We'll do it all. And we'll even allow Ed and Gary to come share some reflections as well. It might be 40 or 50 minutes, but still, we have a great time prepared. I want to talk about our team. I want to spend a lot of time on this one picture, and then I'll go a little faster. I want to introduce to you the team in alphabetical order, not going by any favorites. And as I introduce the name of the person, I also have an adjective that goes with that person. So it will have the same letter. It starts with the adjective that their first name does. Okay, so the first person on our team was, what I'm calling her is Active Abby. Abby Smith, Active Abby. I enjoyed her. This is her second time that she came to Costa Rica. She was with our group last year. And what I liked about her was anytime she saw that there was something that she could do, she didn't have to be asked. She just did it. And that was really good. I was kind of bummed that this year, she's at camp tonight, but she wasn't able to be our door-knocking team like last year. So she was like a really good door-knocking partner last year, always like looking ahead when I was talking about a verse and had it ready to go. But that's okay. Let's go to the next letter A person. So Adriana Langot, we're going to call her Awesome Adriana, okay? If I were to survey everybody in this room, I don't think there's one person in here who doesn't like you. Everyone likes Adriana. And not only people in Texas, in Keller, Texas, everybody in San Jose, Costa Rica, all the students, everybody that she spent time around made a good impression. Lots of friends that she made in a very short period of time. I think about next, Clarice Langot. So we got almost the whole Langot family joined us on this trip. I'm going to call her Compatible Clarice. And here's what I mean by that. So she had the privilege, I guess, of sitting next to Landon and I, not a privilege, on the airplane, all the way there and all the way back. But she was so good in talking with kids and adults of all ages. She was so good interacting with Landon. She was so good working with the children. She was the official translator for all the kids' classes, and she's bilingual. And she even would skip her rest period time to spend time with the ladies that were preparing our dinners each night. And so it was just really good seeing how she could connect with anybody, compatible with any person of any age. Next one, there was a couple people that aren't currently members that still joined our team. One was Cody Kilgore. We did support him while he was a student at Southwest, and he graduated last year, but I called him Consistent Cody. I think some of them are watching live right now. He was consistent. He was always had a good attitude. He always had the right focus, and consistent in his teachings. He's a very good Bible teacher, very solid in the faith, and he just teaches what the Bible teaches, and I'm glad he was part of our team. Next is Ed Allen. I call him Energizing Ed. I like that. Energizing Ed. What I liked about it, he just kept everything going, kept everything upbeat. Obviously has natural leadership ability, could take charge, could lead things. I kept thinking, if something goes south for me, Ed could take this thing and run with it. He was so good to have around, interacted with everybody, the people there, the people on our team. We actually had 2 elders go on this trip, which was amazing, actually. And one reason why that's amazing, I'll go and introduce Gary, because he's next, Gary Kaiser. I'm going to call him Grounded Gary. Not in a bad way, but grounded, like a steady leader to have on our team. Do you realize that in the country of Costa Rica, and talking with one of the preachers there, he calculated 2 elders in one church for the entire country. And we brought 2 elders from our church congregation there. Having leadership as part of the trip was really important to have that leadership there who could teach, who could lead by example, and show that how to be a servant. So I was really happy to have Ed and Gary there. Let me look at the next one, Jeff Lungat. So the word that I came up with is Jim Dandy Jeff. Okay, that is a real word. Okay, I got it here. Jim Dandy on Google says fine, outstanding, or excellent. Okay, there you go. That's Jeff, right? I was running out of J's there. So Jim Dandy Jeff, excellent, good person to have around. He was really good about investing time with lots of people, not just 1 or 2 people. He was very good about interacting with people. He wanted to know about the work. He wanted to know about the students. He wanted to talk to the director and the teachers. He really, which is fitting because he's on our mission committee, and he really wanted to understand the work. Joshua Chavez, I'm going to call him Jovial Josh, okay? Because he's a man of good cheer, If you could zoom in, he's smiling in that picture, big smile. I know he was excited for the trip. He prepared he took his preparation serious. I encouraged everyone to take part in language studies leading up to our trip about 4 or 5 months out, and I had them get the Duolingo app to learn some Spanish so they could be a little more prepared to communicate with people. And Josh had our longest streak going on our team. Well, second longest behind, but he did very good. So Joshua Chavez prepared hard for the trip. He did a great devotional. He did our morning devotional one day, and he asked me this question multiple times. Do you need any help? I love that. He was always wanting to help and to do something. All right, here we go. Next is Candace Ross. I got to bring my whole crew, and I called her Can Do Candace. Now, I made it start with a K. Just work with me, okay? Can Do Candace, the can with a K, because whatever the challenge was, she did it. Whatever the schedule was, hey, honey, we got to leave at 3:15 in the morning. Need all the kids dressed, ready, and bags packed. Well, she did it. That's how she does it. Whatever the task is, whatever the schedule, 2 sick kids, it's no problem. We'll make it work. She did very good, and I was glad to have them with us. The next one's Kason Ross. I call him Cowabunga Kason with a K again, because when he was feeling good, which was 75% of the trip, he caught something while he was there. He was very just cool and fun and lots of personality, and literally lots of personality. Let's go. Let's move on. Next is Katie Lungat. Here's the adjective. I might change it. No, I'm just going to go with it because it's already here and we're already talking about it. So, kindling Katie. Okay, kindling by definition is this. Easily combustible small sticks that start a fire. That's not how I'm using the word though. Kindling, meaning she can stir, what is Proverbs 27:17? Sharpen one another. She has the ability to just encourage the people around us to rub off on them in a good way. And it seemed like she really liked being able to get to the work. I think she even said one night, we need to start to do this more often back at our own home congregation. And this is a little commercial now, okay? Mission Alitos in like 2 weeks if you want to sign up for that, June 12th and 13th, another opportunity, 30 minutes away that you can do. All right, back to the lesson, okay. But I'm glad that's who you are, kindling Katie. Just work with me there. Okay, next is Kay Kaiser, keen. Keen, meaning someone who she's sharpen one another. I'm still looking at Proverbs 27:17 there, but had a really good ability to equip others. We had a ladies seminar one day. I'll show you a picture that was, I think they packed out 50 women in this room, and she taught them about our curriculum. She talked to them about serving the church as a sister in Christ. She went on Sunday morning, she taught Bible class, and it was a smaller, new church plant. And she had another lady who teaches Bible class in there and kind of observing, and she was showing her how she teaches. Kind of a lot of equipping taking place, and that was really, really encouraging to see. Landon Ross, I just call him Lucky Landon because 2 of my kids got sick and he didn't, so I guess he got lucked out. But he stayed healthy. He loved door knocking. He would be the one who always was eager to tap the coin on the door and yell "Upe." That was like his part of the door knocking. But he went to all the Bible classes. I have a picture of him playing checkers with another kid around his age. Neither one could talk to each other, but they had a great game of checkers and a lot of smiling. So it was pretty cool to see that. Luke Proctor was on our team. I call him Last Minute Luke because, not in a bad way, this is good because we had a last minute opening. I had to get it filled up, and Luke came into the rescue, and he was able to join our team, and he faithfully served, he taught, he campaigned, and he was a good addition to the team. Next was Paul Delgado. I call him Proficient Paul. Many of you know Paul. He's just good at what he does when it comes to teaching, preaching, campaigning, interacting with people. He's very proficient. He's done this many times and is glad that he and Cody flew from Chicago to join our team that week. Next is Rosie Smith. So I'm going to call her Rosie, okay? I think that works because what I liked was that consistent attitude the entire time. She's been on a trip before to Costa Rica, and no matter if she's tired or if she's wide awake, she's good. She's good to be around. She's a good servant. She's a great teammate for our mission team. Ryder Ross, I just threw in robust Ryder because he's 2, and that's what he does. He's a ball of energy, and he did pretty well overall considering culture change and food change and schedule change. And he doesn't like taking pictures, as you can see there. Candace is hugging him there, but other than that, that's who he is. Okay, Shaylee Hubble. I called her Steady Shaylee. Steady Shaylee. I didn't have to worry about Shaylee. She was going to do a good job wherever she was, beginning to end. Her team, I'll show you pictures. We all divided into mission teams the whole week. And we had a couple of our members along with some of their students and the preaching school students. I'll talk about that later. And her team just had a good dynamic. There was a really good team, and wherever they went, they just had a good chemistry. 2 more people. Tyler Bush. He'll preach here this summer on our summer series. He works with the Centerville Road Church. He was on our team last year, and he came back again this year. He's good friends with some of the folks in Costa Rica. But I'm going to call him Talk Radio Tyler, okay? And here's what I mean by that. Not because he talks political stuff, but because he has like a radio voice. And you'll see it whenever he preaches here in a few weeks, and then it'll hit you like, oh, Spencer was right. But I think he has a great speaking voice. And any assignment that I gave him, devotional or a seminar assignment, he really thought out his lesson and presented a very well thought out message. The last one is Victor Matheson. It starts with a V, so I'm going to call him Valuable Victor because you were great to be in the team. You were valuable, you're adventurous, helpful. Like almost most of the people on this trip took his own vacation time to come on this trip, so Valuable Victor. There we go. That's the longest part of the lesson, but I'm telling you, this was a good team. Great chemistry. Everybody had some sort of a teaching assignment, whether it be a devotional, a kids class. Everyone was on the campaigning teams. Everyone was involved in so many different ways, but it just made the week go by very, very well. Okay, so here was the plan. You ready for the plan? We left on a Monday, came back on a Monday. The travel days were... Well, maybe they were long. Is that an understatement? Sorry, that's not the best picture. I didn't think about that. But not anything critical. It's just blurry or pixely. But this was long travel days. So we left at 3:15 in the morning, and we got to Costa Rica at like 9 o'clock at night, maybe 10 o'clock at night. And long travel days. But everyone did a pretty good job. We actually had 2 birthdays at the Mexico City airport. We had a long layover there, and so Luke had his 25th birthday, and Landon had his 9th birthday that day. So we got Krispy Kreme donuts, and we got candles, and we sang for them in the airport and had a nice little time making the most out of our long layover. But here's how each day pretty much went. We had Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We're pretty much the same schedule. Wake up in the morning, have breakfast together. We stayed at like a hostel, and so they had like a place where they could serve breakfast for us. And we'd start off 7 a.m., early mornings and late nights is what this is going to be. And we'd had 8:30. We would go to the park and have a devotional. And the devotional was with this preaching school, the Costa Rica Theological Institute. And they have about 15 students or so. And they would join us, and we would join them. And then we would take turns singing some songs in Spanish, some in English. We had one of our brothers lead a talk each morning to kick our day off, and spend about 30 minutes in devotional and prayer before going out. From that spot, we would just go from there and campaign, and just do as much campaigning as possible, introducing people to the church. We would invite them to a gospel meeting, but really we were trying to just set up Bible studies. That was our main goal, just trying to plant the seed and set up Bible studies for the church there to continue to work with them. We would then, let's see, here's some pictures of campaigning in action. Students were such a joy to be around. A lot of them were bilingual, at least to an extent. We would just separate out. The students had matching shirts. They have a different shirt, actually, for each day of the week. And we did 4 days of this. That scenery never really got old while door knocking. That's just, you just kind of be doing your thing, and you look up and be like, wow, it's beautiful here. And then you go back to regular life, and you would snap back out of it again, and wow, it's beautiful here. And so that never really got old, just looking at how pretty things were. The temperature was great, too, maybe 75-ish. Does that sound about right? It was in a valley, San Jose. Just some more snapshots of our different people and different teams and how we divided out. Just lots of good spirits. Victor is wearing a rain jacket because rain or shine, we went. I mean, it was raining. We kept going, and it wasn't like storming. It was just raining persistently, and so we still did our thing. We would have lunch together, and we would spend time with students and with each other, and just have a little break for lunch each day, and go back out again in the afternoon for a couple more hours of campaigning, and then we would take like an hour and a half break, only to go, and then that night, we went to a different church. We went to the Calle Blancos Church of Christ, Iglesia de Cristo. And we had 4 nights of a seminar on the life of David. Okay, so we taught two lessons each night. So we had 8 lessons on the life of David. And all of the men pretty much took turns teaching one of those lessons. And then all our ladies taught kids' classes. And each night the kids' classes had more and more kids. And these are just a few snapshots of the children's classes that took place each night. And then, of course, we would close each night. So just because the seminar is over at 9 didn't mean we couldn't have a 10 o'clock devotional still. So that night, most nights, we would get together and circle up in a room and just reflect on the day and pray together and just share some any challenges that we might have had, and also just some highlights of the day. So that was a really good way to close out the night. And some people still had a little life in them, so they went to go get some authentic late night snacks at this place called McDonald's. And so we went there a couple nights, and after 3 straight nights of that, getting home really late, we kind of regretted and just took it easy the next few nights. But there we go. Then let me show you some pictures of the seminar. We did that for 4 straight days, this schedule. Different brothers preached on the life of David. Got Luke and Victor there. This next one, we have Jeff speaking in one of the lessons, Ed, as well as Gary speaking. And then on Saturday was a day where, I'll show you some pictures later. That morning we went and checked out a volcano, which was really cool. I'll show you some neat pictures of that. And that afternoon we had some more seminars. We had a men's seminar that Paul Delgado spoke at, continuing using David as a theme. And then we had I kind of went around the side and took a picture of the ladies' seminar. I happened to not get Kay, but she's leading that seminar at the time. And Saturday, I really didn't want to finish that too quick. We had some evening activities, but when the Lord's Day came on Sunday, we worshiped at a church called the Iglesia de Cristo in San Jose Sur. And so this was a church plant. It's about a year old. They kind of rent out like a house or a building for a church. As you can see, the first thing I did when I got in the pulpit was said smile, and we packed the room out, standing room only for morning services. Basically, they advertise one time. I think what time did we meet? Was it 10 or 11? And everyone stays for Bible class and everyone stays for worship. That's how it is. And everyone comes for both, and a little break in between. And we ended the afternoon, had had some lunch. Then we went to, that night we took all the cooks. We had a group of ladies that prepared meals for us all week. And so we said, we want to treat you to dinner now. So that Sunday night, we took them out to a nice dinner at like this fried chicken place. It was really good. It wasn't KFC, but it was like Roasty Pollos is what it's called. It was so good. Okay. And that night, I don't have a picture of it. I don't know how I didn't get a picture of it. But Sunday night, before we would leave the next morning, we went out to like the city square. And we kind of had like a flash type mob, but it wasn't planned, where we just started singing a cappella, singing right there in the square. And next thing you know, we had our whole group singing. A lot of the preacher students and the teachers and the director, the Costa Rican brethren were with us. And then there was a small group from East Texas that was there for another trip, but they joined our group, and we were all singing together in the square. And it was a really neat way to close out the final night. But here was kind of the work in summary. The work in summary was about fellowship. The fellowship is, it's hard to explain unless you've been a part of it. Lots of the whole school, lots of students, the spouses, the children, everybody, just a lot of chemistry between our group and their group. So a lot of fellowship between everybody. We were there to teach. To me, that's really critical. I like doing work projects, but to me, when we only have a limited amount of time, I just want to spread as much of the word as possible. Everything from door knocking to every night having gospel meeting type stuff. And we were teaching and preaching. That was the main thrust of the message of the week. And then to serve. We go there to serve them and to help them and encourage them. But I promise you, I think it's a mutual thing. We come back encouraged, on fire, smiling, excited. And so it was really going back and forth. We served them, but really we're being served at the same time, and it's just a mutual edification. The country of Costa Rica, it's about 5 million people that live there. This is actually, we went up to the rainforest one evening in between some activities, and you could look down in the valley. 5 million people live in the country of Costa Rica. So it's not massive, but there's still quite a few people. It's a beautiful country. A lot of people are receptive to the gospel. The more into the country you go, I think they're more receptive, but we had a great level of people willing to speak with us about the church and even have Bible studies right there at the door. And people were very receptive. I got some statistics recently. I believe there's over 80 congregations now in Costa Rica with a very good sense of unity amongst them, which is so refreshing, if you will, just to have simple, basic New Testament Christianity and have unity pretty much countrywide. So that was really good to see that. A few leaders, though, in the church. The church is still growing and maturing. Like I said, there's one church that has a pair of elders that we know of, and so there's still a lot of room for growth. I think about the connection. The connection. What brought our group to Costa Rica? And it's trying to always play it backwards. You see providence and how God works. And so just playing it backwards is kind of, how did our group go to work with the Costa Rica Theological Institute? That Rafael Barrantes is the director of the school. Well, my friend Hainer, I had met 7 or 8 years ago when he was at Brown Trail in the Spanish department, the preaching school. I met him and got acquainted with him. And then when he moved to Costa Rica, I was looking for a place to do a mission trip, and we stayed connected and went there 4 years in a row, basically. And then he moved from out of the country part of Costa Rica to San Jose and joined the school as one of the teachers. He's one of the teachers at the new preaching school. It's about a year old now, the preaching school. And so that's how we got connected with Rafael. And so last year, we spent our week working with that church and the school, and then we set the stage for this year. And we're able to bring our group to join them. And who knows, Lord willing, what the future will hold between this connection between Keller and the Costa Rica Theological Institute. To me, I think it's going to be very, very good. The success, was it successful? Were there lots and lots of baptisms? Well, there actually have been a pair of baptisms since we left, but I believe we still were successful. Our goal is simply to plant as much of the seed as possible. And so when I think of 1 Corinthians 3, 6 and 7, I planted, Apollos watered, and God gave the increase. Each day I would try to give some sort of update online about how things were going. And here was one of the posts that to me was really important. When you look at the entire team and what was going on, you can't really read it, but it says 51 Bible study contexts have been made so far. Many seeds have been planted. We kind of stopped there. To me, that's the most important part. getting these Bible studies set up, planting as much seed, as much literature as possible. We brought some 2,000 printing tracts with us, and just simply trying to plant as much seed as possible. So I believe that we were successful when it comes to doing what we could to encourage them and spread the word. There's always challenges on a trip. Any trip you go on, any mission trip, there's always going to be challenges. Actually, those who went on this trip, when they signed up, there was a little section that said, "Are you willing to keep a good attitude and remain flexible?" And everyone wrote yes. And for the most part, that's what they did. They had a great attitude, and they remained flexible, even when they walked 15, 20,000 steps a day, early mornings, late nights, every day was full, but it was okay. I believe we maximized our opportunity, trying to be good stewards of our time, money, and resources, and remain mission-minded. People got tired. I mean, I made it my challenge one day to get a picture of every single person sleeping on the way there, and I was successful. But except Jeff Langat, you can't really see him. He told me he was praying, but I think he wouldn't sleep. I kept staring at him on the plane going, "Sleep," so I could get your picture. But the first day was a hard day. Some people got 0 sleep. Some got like 2 hours, and it was a long day. But it was a lot of fun. The experience, let me just, due to time, I'm going to move through these pictures. Just some more snapshots to kind of bring to life the trip. I told people who went on the trip, you'll be glad you went, and those who didn't go, I said you'll wish you had come, because it was incredible when you look back on it. Spending time with old friends, brothers in Christ, also new friends, interacting across cultures. We had good meals together, fellowship between worship, beginning, after worship. We had a nice little simple place where we could stay. It was a comfortable place to stay, and to have breakfast each morning. Lots of smiles. Candace had little ways to keep our kids entertained if we got into some Bible studies, so they would read books and play games, whatever, while we were having Bible studies. Saw a volcano. Had that group in the bottom left. They did we went hiking, and they went all the way up to the top, and they got some cool pictures. Gary bought some ice cream for us one day, so that was Ryder's highlight of the trip. We did some coffee breaks at some cool scenic locations. I'm not sure what the other picture was, but those who didn't know. We went and saw this neat volcano. I already mentioned that. Just lots of cool dynamics. Siblings got to go together. Families got to go together. Clarice and Adriana did a puppet show in Spanish. That's what that's for. And I think Kason said afterwards, "Are they going to do it in our language?" but they liked it, though. It was a lot of fun. You can see the video on one of our Facebook posts. Good breakfasts to kick the day off. Gallo pinto, beans and rice mixed together. Just a good way. Some fruit, some coffee. Somebody, I forgot who brought the beaver nuggets. Somebody brought beaver nuggets and introduced them to the students, and they loved them. And that bag was full like a few minutes before this picture. But those are from Buc-ee's. Some neat snapshots. The pictures don't do justice. Going up into the rainforest and looking down, it's just beautiful. I just love some of these pictures I saw that were posted, and wanted to share them with you. Again, look at that scenic campaign site. It's just beautiful, the background. There's a picture of Landon and one of the boys playing checkers. Let me stop talking and give somebody else a few minutes to share a few thoughts. I do want to share, Clarice sent me a few things that I could share with you all, and then I'm going to have Ed come talk for 4 or 5 minutes, and then Gary talk for 4 or 5 minutes, and then I'll come back up and wrap it up. But here's what Clarice had to say about the trip. She said, "I consider this trip a success because of the patience we have had in making this trip a reality. It's been my dream for the Keller Church to go on a foreign mission trip, and God provided the perfect trip with the perfect people and the perfect timing, never disappoints. Of course, the challenge will be to continue communicating and encouraging the people in the work of Costa Rica. Relationships in Christ are so valuable. The challenge is not to forget." Overall, she just wanted to reflect on how our group was full of preachers and teachers and elders, and reminded of how equipped and spiritually rich the trip was through the seminar, Bible studies, singing, devotional, and Christian attitude. She said, "I believe our brotherhood would be stronger if many experienced the church in a cross-cultural setting, not their own. It was so refreshing and rewarding. There's no other way to understand it unless you experience it." So I thought those were some good thoughts. Ed, if you want to come talk for a couple minutes.
4 or 5 minutes. So Spencer, you didn't include yourself. So here's mine for you. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious Spencer. Because it's full of nonsense, but it makes you smile. You're welcome. Not in a bad way. A couple of things that stand out to me that I did want to mention. First of all, if you've never been on a mission trip, engaging in that is so important because it really does bring you back home and impress upon you the value of just speaking to people about Jesus. It seems like something that we get out of the habit of when we're in the day-to-day and the drudgery and the difficulty of life, and we've got bills to pay and work to deal with and all that kind of stuff. And taking a time where you focus on that is so important. It's the first time I had ever been out of the country and slept in a bed, and so Costa Rica was a great first choice. Fell in love immediately. But if you've never been on a mission trip with Spencer, I just want to prepare you, because he just never stops working, and he expects you to do that with him. And I kept telling him, dude, I need a nap. The days that it rained, when it was raining, I actually was drier than I was when I was just sweating because of the humidity. Came home, and in Texas in June, I didn't sweat for 3 days, I think, because I had gotten used to Costa Rica. So that was awesome. A couple things about the door knocking that are different. When we go knock doors here, a lot of times it just turns into literature hanging. We knock on a door and nobody comes to the door and we're moving on. Right? We just keep going. And there, first of all, you don't knock. Our group didn't knock. We didn't have the little thing where we knocked on the security gate or whatever. We just would stand at the front door and holler, "Buenas." And from inside you'd hear, "Buenas." And then something else, which I think means "gives me a minute." And we had done 3 houses in an hour and a half the first morning that we were door knocking. 3. The first one we went to, guy I was with says, "Buenas," and waits for a few minutes, and I'm like, "Let's go, we're going to the next one. It's time to go, nobody's here." And he just stands there. Just stood there for like 10 minutes, just waiting on somebody. And finally somebody came to the door, and we talked to him for about 20, 30 minutes, just about the church and about Jesus, about where they go and about what it meant. And it was really, really, really awesome, and I can't stress that enough. 2 Peter chapter 2 talks about Noah being a herald of righteousness, a preacher of righteousness. Hebrews talks about him being a man of faith. And if you think about Noah's life, he preached for 120 years, and he literally only converted the people in his family. But he was a herald of righteousness, a preacher of righteousness, a speaker of truth. And that's what God wants us to be. What God wants us to be is somebody who speaks to the people in the world about him and his son. And what they do with it is up to them. The singing together was, Gary mentioned this a minute ago, we would sing together, and somebody, and I don't know who it was, but had the idea. I don't sing in a foreign language. I don't know a foreign language. I barely know English, let's be honest. And so I told him, I'll sing a song if I know it, but I'm singing in English. And so that kind of was something we started doing as the week went on. And by the time we got to the end of it, we were singing, "I know that my Redeemer lives," in the Spanish, it was "Just soy," and it was just the same melody and the same, it was Spanish and English being sung at the same time. And I've never heard anything, I want to say more beautiful. I probably have heard things more beautiful because a lot of us really can't sing that well. But there wasn't anything more unifying. Does that make sense? And it really was pretty. The night we spent in the town square singing, it was dark, and we have some people that could sing for sure. Those Lingot girls, they can rock it. The other thing I just wanted to impress upon you is we knocked on the door of a young couple who sat and talked with us for several minutes, and his name was Jorge. Husband finally came to the door after about 20 minutes of us talking to his wife, and he was like, "Come on in, come on in." And every day while we were there, we had a Bible study with him. We sat and talked to him. And even though there were other people that were fluent in the language, they very much deferred. I guess it's a culture that defers to the older people. So very much deferred to me and expected me to run the Bible study. And it was just a great time. By the end of the week, there were several people, can't speak the language, didn't know the language, didn't keep up with my Duolingo at all like Spencer wanted me to do. But by the end of the week, we were just sitting talking about our family and about our spouses because we had made that connection. And so the fellowship that we have in Christ Jesus. You know, it's not something that is limited to our culture. It's not something that's limited to our language. It's not something, you know, there's a lot of things we don't have in common. I met people I have less in common with than I've ever met in my life, and yet we had that commonality of Jesus Christ. We had that connection. And it really helps when you come back home to be ready to be that energizer, to be energy, to be outworking because of that. I know that was more than 4 or 5 minutes, but deal with it. Thanks.
Wow, what a challenge. 5 minutes. Okay. 4 minutes. I'll have to talk really fast. You know, our motto, or what, you know, our focus on our evangelism is seeking the lost and securing the saved. That was the main focus of Christ. He came that he might seek and save those that were lost. But he also came so that we could continue with that. It doesn't stop there. It continues on with our trying to help people to continue in their church and their relationships with people. You know, we take it for granted a lot of times, the church that we have here. I don't know if sometimes, well, if we've been here a while, we don't realize when you go to church somewhere else, we've got a wonderful family here. This is like an oasis. We have unity, we have harmony, love, grace, all of those things that make a church a church. And that's one of the things that you don't really understand when you go to another country. And you can teach the Bible and you can teach what it says. That's the theoretical side. The reality of it is that there's the real living. There's the living it out and knowing how to live out the words that you read. That's new to a lot of people. In Costa Rica, that's still new. They don't have elders. And so it's kind of strange. Elders are put in this almost a royalty thing. I'm surprised, Ed, you didn't say something about this. They treated us like royalty. Not that you guys treated the elders here wonderfully. It was strange. I almost had to say, I'm just an old guy. That's what I would say. I've just been around a while, and I've got some experience. That's what elders are. It's not there's not some weird formula to becoming an elder. It's just living your life as a Christian and learning as you go and learning how to teach people. But they were thirsty for this. So when we went, talking really quickly, we talked about David. We talked about him fighting Goliath. We talked about the opportunity he had. David had an opportunity. When that giant came, he had an opportunity at that one moment in his life to do something or not to do something. He acted on his faith. And he went and found 5 stones. Now, you think about that, he took 5 stones. Why not just 1? Well, I guess maybe he thought he might need a plan B or C and D, I don't know. But he still had faith in God and he acted. I think right now we're finding in some of these places that we're looking that this is an opportunity for us. This is our time to take action. And in this particular trip, I was just really taken back by the culture that they have there in Costa Rica. Now, we went and worked with the church, one of the churches there. This is where we had this seminar. And they had recently had some problems. About 4 years ago, they had some problems, and there was one of the leading congregations in the capital there. And brethren, we were able to have an opportunity for the first time in 4 years to have a citywide event that everyone could go to at that church. That was a turning point for them. You know, you get really discouraged when you have problems as big as Goliath. And that was our message that we had for them. You can conquer your Goliaths if you first take action. So the people that we met are people who have just regular, everyday people. Raphael is from Costa Rica, but he'd been in the United States a while and gotten I don't know how many master's degrees and all this. He's finishing up, I believe, a PhD, and he's trying to get this school going. And he's doing a great job. And he's got some young men there that they've quit their jobs. One was in law school. They've just all different sorts of people coming in to preach the word. And these are the ones that we went door to door with. The young man that we went door to door with, we named him Timothy. That's his new name. He was raised by his grandmother and his mother. So I call him Mijo. That means son. And he became like a son. And these people need that. They need that type of people. And when we go over there, sometimes we don't realize, like I said, what we have here. Just how to teach a class. Kay brought the material that we have, here. All the teachers are teaching, and we all know how to do flannel graphs and show pictures and teach children. But most of these people coming out from the world or from a Catholic background or something, they don't know how to teach. They don't know how to create material. They need someone to help them and show them how to teach their children. They've asked us if we might partake in helping to get our material translated for them so they can teach their children. That's an opportunity that we have. By the way, we just had another opportunity with some people over, another missionary that just came recently. An opportunity maybe to translate some of our material in some other languages. They have translators maybe ready. Would that be an opportunity for us? You never know until you act what your opportunities might be. I wish I could just replay what's in my mind and let you see every day what we did. It was so encouraging. We had people that, one man, we woke up, and when you knock on doors, I'm going over a little bit. I got to talk even faster now. So we knocked on this door, and this man, he worked at night, and so we woke him up. So what our response is, oh no, please don't yell at me. That's what we might be thinking here if we're going door knocking. And this man, you can tell he's trying to wake up and trying to understand what we're saying, and gave him this pamphlet, and he said, what's this? Well, I'll read it and I'll get back with you. He said, okay, yeah, right. So, as we've talked about, 3 or 4 houses later, which is an hour and a half, after we talked to people, 3 or 4 houses down, this man came running up the street with that pamphlet to chase us down for a Bible study. I thought, what? I thought maybe he was mad at us. Oh, now he's running after us. He wanted a Bible study. He had gone in, woke up, and read that pamphlet and saw where it was comparing what's being taught with what's in the Bible. And he had an open mind. And he said, I want to study this. Can I set up a study? I've never had that happen. I don't know about you. I've never had that happen before. But we had experience like that after experience. One lady we sat and talked to, her husband had passed recently. He was a doctor. She was very educated and had been confused on a lot of historic and archaeological types of things. Sometimes we just have to explain just a little bit to help them not be so confused. That's all. And we take that for granted. The things that we do every day, the things that we've learned because maybe we've been raised going to church. The other thing are the friendships that we've made. I just want to make sure that I say this. This wasn't the first time that we had went. There were some returning people. And when you return and you make a concerted effort to get to know these people and you stay in touch, do you know how encouraging that is? they're trying to learn English in school because they want to be able to learn. A lot of commentaries are in English, so they want to be able to learn in English. And they also might need support from congregations in the United States, so they're learning English. They're going far beyond what might normally, Spencer, if we required our preachers, you're going to have to learn German, What if we said, that would be a tough thing to ask of someone, to learn another language. But that's just what they're going to do. This also is a place where they have a lot of people that understand English. And so for us, it's an easy place to go because there are a lot of translators. And a lot of the people that we met spoke fluent English. And we asked them, well, where do you work? And they said, Amazon, with no accent whatsoever. That's the kind of place that we went. So I'd like to close here and just tell you this. I believe this is our time of opportunity right now. This is just one of those times that we need to be looking for this, and perhaps you might join us next year.
It was all about the message. The gospel is what we went to share, just a simple gospel message. I had everyone memorize this basic Bible study, so when they were going out door to door, that they would at least feel comfortable and equipped and ready to at least present the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ. And so this passage was one of the 4 verses. I had people at least memorize the references so they could be comfortable in sharing this gospel. And so people that Ed talked about, like Jorge, Hayner tells me he's still coming every Sunday, still studying, came every night to our seminar. We got some, I really can't wait to see what the Lord does with that seed. But the theme, like I said, the unofficial slogan of Costa Rica, Pura Vida. I thought about this to close. Pure life. I thought of a scripture, actually, that came to mind about pure life. And it was 1 John 3 and verse 3. And everyone who thus hopes in him purifies himself as he is pure. As Christians, we can have that pure life. We can enjoy that, not just life, but that abundant life that Jesus talked about. Sure, we have imperfections and impurities, but being in Christ, they can be washed away, they can be forgiven, and we can be cleansed. And so that pure life is what we have as Christians. It's what hopefully you have as a Christian. And so this evening, we're going to sing a song of invitation. If you feel the need to respond, if you would like to know what this pure life is all about, this pure vida is all about, we'd be happy to study the gospel with you in further detail. You can respond right now while we stand and while we sing.